on the way to reach my goals. A lot of doors open and close. I've been spending millions on clothes. I've been making millions off clothes. Stand new money to the old. Garbage stay bitches and old. Cut up my shirt full of hoes. Don't wanna got a lot of.
Yep. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Swag Dirtbag Show. I am Braden Dudley's swag staffer. We have Kobe Franklin with us, of course. And
La.
our two favorite guests, we have Jim Nemeth and we have Kent Ames. Obviously, they were with us episode 1. We loved it so much, we had to do a second show. So
The alien is back.
the alien
That's
is
right.
back.
Don't call it a comeback.
So much that we talked about in the first show. We had episode 1 and
There he is.
and we got everything. We got the backstory. We talked about the rebrand, how we marketed, what the first process was on day 1 of releasing the balls, why they were released in the package the way that they were, and so much buzz. Who's throwing the balls, the scores that were put up, how even the Craze series outperformed its price point. So that was the first 6 balls that we released in 2025. And what has been so, since we've done that show, the expectation is, oh, what about the next 6? So that we are going to talk about that today, the next 6. And these are some really, really good releases. I'll give you the names of it. We had the Craze Hybrid, we had the Apex Solid, we had the Apex Pearl, which was a new series in 2025 in that second set of releases. The Apex series was presented to the world. Then we also had the Judge Pearl, Black Dragon Pearl, and the Fusion Hybrid. So love to get into it today. Kent, I will start with you. We talked about it, the buzz. All right, now you didn't release these 6 balls and it's out there. Now, what's next? How are we doing?
Well, and this is where, like hitting up all those trade shows, we really started hearing that feedback. And we kind of talked about this a little bit in episode 1, where, all the people from the pro shops and guys that are working in the pro shops are coming, and they're wanting to see what's those next balls that are coming out. Because, we had the old balls set up on display on the tables, but then we also had the new balls.
Okay.
So those new balls were quickly drawing attention.
Everybody's like, wait, that's not what you got. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they all wanted to see that new stuff.
That's how it's supposed to work. When you were at those trade shows, was it something about the first 6? Was there one specific ball that people were kind of looking forward to, maybe to see if there was a second version of it? Any of them that they kind of talked to you about that you were like, oh, wait till you see this one?
Dragon, Craze series. I did have a lot of people asking, something, maybe something new with the Unreal, something new with the Fusion. And, it was, of course, right there, already having those next set of balls there for them to see. And that was even drawing people to the table that weren't familiar with what was done in the first 6.
Okay.
Because they were seeing these colors of these new balls, and they're going, what is that? Fusion Hybrid's pulling them in.
Okay.
The Craze Hybrid's pulling them in. The Judge Pearl, and that's just pulling them right into the table and being like, what is going on?
That had to be exciting. When talking about those first 6, and as we start to get our second 6, you got 6 months to kind of have them out there and kind of see what they're doing. Obviously, we talked about R&D in the first show about how you wanted to develop bowling balls. And a point that Jim always made to say is that each ball has a story. And so you had that first 6 and they told their story. Now, how do you look at those balls, look at their performance and say, okay, these next 6 need to tell this story?
Well, and part of that is just, the 1-2 punch, in the first series, we had the Dragon Solid and the Judge Solid, the Fusion Solid. You needed a new version of that.
Okay.
That could really, make that you're starting with that Dragon Solid, and then you're needing something that's going to give you a little bit more length, needing that Pearl version of it. Same thing with the Judge. And
just
then
something to give you a different look, but the same in a sense.
Right. And
Gotcha.
then, of course, the Craze Hybrid has just been, that ball's been astronomical.
Absolutely. Obviously, we talked about Sean, and he was the one that brought a lot of attention to that crazy hybrid. He threw it on one of his videos. I'm like, ooh, okay. What about you, Jim? Obviously, you're doing a lot of the social media things with it. How about you, as far as like as you're starting to put it out there and trying to get the people to kind of hone in to the Facebook page and kind of look at what we're doing different and what's to come? How did you see it?
So it's interesting because literally, I think I saw the balls in person the minute Kent posted about it. I saw the images and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, the images are great. But when you saw them in person, it was like, oh, okay. And so that was kind of one of the things. And, bowling from January till June, I had a really good body of work of like, okay, I think I see a gap, or I think I see something that I need a little bit more.
Okay.
And one of those things was like, okay, in my head, I'm kind of going through a checklist of, okay, here's a motion I think we need, or here's a motion I think we see. And what was funny is the minute that they got announced and I saw them and stuff like that, I called up R&D and I was like, you guys did good because it really kind of fits some of the spots where we thought that we may have had an issue. And I'm not even saying an issue as being a bad thing. I'm saying an issue is in like the fact that, okay, if you went from a Fusion to an Unreal, there's a little bit of a gap. There's a good gap there that kind of sits. And so the Unreal has that ability of kind of being, a little bit more of a hockey stick motion. And the Fusion has a little bit more of that IQ forward motion and stuff like that. So it was kind of one of those things of like, we need something that fits there. I'm not sure what that looks like. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, hey, here comes an Apex. And to kind of put in the Apex Solid or the Apex Pearl, it kind of plugged itself beautifully right there.
Okay.
And then kind of cue into the white ball. I think that was one of the weirdest things that, the minute that Kent was talking about, I was like, look, I've tested this thing and this thing sits even more different than the Craze, which was, as we all agreed in the first instance, it was like another level. So as I was telling the stories, it was like one of those things of like being complimentary. Ken said it best, 1-2 punches and stuff like that. Typically when you have unveil a solid in the bowling industry, you typically roll out the pearl, because that's going to be kind of that. If you love that solid motion, you're going to definitely love that pearl motion because sometimes you can't get that solid to kind of push that extra 2 or 3 feet.
Yep.
And that's where you kind of need that extra piece. And so it was really kind of, well, for lack of a better term, amazing because, now we're kind of saying, okay, first set of 6 was like, okay, we're new. We're bringing something new to the market. In bowling ball, yeah, you can say bowling ball is a bowling ball. However, we're coming back with motions that may have gotten lost in translation. When I talk about motions, we're talking about stuff that's not necessarily so difficult to control. We're actually creating motions that are making things a little bit easier so that you kind of get back to being able to combat a cliff lane where you have something that's more continual or something that has a better shape and breakpoint from there. It's okay that you don't have to have stand as far left as you can, and throw it right. I mean, unfortunately, that's what Kobe does, to start practice. But, yeah, I know that's tough. I live on the big dot, so we're good. And so it was one of those things where it was nice to be a little bit more refreshed of knowing the fact that I could keep stuff in front of me and I could keep the motions in front of me. And then if I did need to get in and boom, I can. But now I have complementary pieces. So literally, the Apex series has been a continual thing for leagues. The Fusion Hybrid has been a very continual piece. The Craze Hybrid has been a very good piece. And so now, literally, it's like picking out your favorite, NBA All Stars to go to league and say, okay, who's going to come out and shoot scores tonight? It's kind of one of those pieces where there wasn't a whole lot of overlap. And so I'm a guy that traditionally uses 2 or 3 drills. So the fact that I wasn't seeing a whole lot of overlap allowed me to roll in. And yeah, I'm that guy. I roll in with 6. 9 times out of 10, I'm using 6. So it's just one of those pieces where, the more dynamic we have that. But yeah, R&D did a great job. And it was really nice to see that R&D was like, look, here's what we did so that we can kind of create complementary pieces to the original 6. And we're not trying to stomp on what we've already set forth with the first 6.
That's a very good point because, like you said, that story has to be told, and you have to know where your gaps are. And a lot of times, especially manufacturers that have more than one company, sometimes those releases are kind of right on the same line with one another. So now it's just like, okay, whichever one comes out first, that's the one that's in my bag, and that's the one that's gonna be the one that makes that place in the bag. Cody, how about you? I mean, obviously you are out there and you're throwing it. When the first 6 came out, you shot very well, obviously with the Judge and the Fusion and those balls like that. With this second 6, I know you got really excited to see some of the ones that came out. Actually, we did a video at Stardust and where you threw all of them. And so what was your thought process when you had these balls and you already had so much excitement? I remember us doing that video and we had people watching us and just looking at us striking these balls and like, what is going on? What are they doing? So what was your thought process as you were testing them and getting ready to put them in your arsenal?
To be honest, like when Kent first announced it, I was sitting here and thinking, oh my God, yes, thank you. Thank you. Because it was one of those things where, like, even with like previously, like last year with the whole California bowling and everything, there were like some really great pieces that we had, like the ace and the graffiti, and like, okay, those are really solid pieces. Then we came out with the first 6, in which it brought a whole new like motion, a whole like new wave of excitement about it. And obviously, like I did all 6. I threw all 6. They worked phenomenal. I found every spot in my bag. Took them to nationals in TNBA in Vegas. Won in Vegas. Cool, no problem. But then once I'm like, okay, so I just won a title with these first 6. So how can I expound on that, right? Then the second 6 come out, and I'm like, okay, so the Fusion hybrid, for example, I'm like, the Fusion was a great ball. So I'm like, now they got a hybrid version. I'm like, this is gonna look really good. This is gonna look really great in my bag. And when I started
300 off the press with it, are you kidding me?
Man, look, I sat here. I'm like, you know what? I nicknamed it Skittles. Okay, and Skittles worked phenomenal. But the biggest surprise to me in that new wave of releases was the Apex series. Okay. And the reason being is because it was a brand new series, brought a whole new like arsenal into the lineup, in which it was pretty much like pressed as another benchmark ball. And I'm like, well, we already have the Fusion, we already have the Unreal. So how can you have a benchmark feel with that ball? I punched them up, and off the first shot, I fell in love with the Apex Pearl.
Ooh, the Pearl.
The Pearl. I loved it because it doesn't roll like a Pearl. It rolls stronger, but it still gives you that really clean back, like benchmark motion, but gives you a little bit more on the back. So when I'm sitting here kind of like throwing these next 6, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I'm going to put up score with this. Like, especially when we're entering, the first half of the season, I'm like, there's going to be a lot of score shot with this. And I have not lied, because there's a lot of people that have had a lot of 300s with, the Fusion hybrid. A lot of people are throwing it with the Judge Pearl, the Black Dragon Pearl. And a lot of those are the second set of releases,
right?
In which we expounded with our success on the first. So as far as like, as far as the buzz, it created a whole new wave of buzz about it, to where, you can't stop like grinning about like, oh, you're feeling super giddy. You're like a kid in the candy store when you're throwing these bowling balls. And even still in league, I can still just throw them and I still have a grin on my face.
Now see, and I don't know, I don't know how you guys felt with the Apex Solid when you first threw it. But when I drilled it and first threw it, first ball off my hand, it wasn't the motion I was expecting.
Me either.
No.
And no. The way that I ended up after testing it, the way that I described it at the trade shows was telling pro shops, this is the ball that two-handers are going to love, because you have so many two-handers that have a hard time transitioning into reactive because it ends up getting too jumpy for them.
Right.
They love living in their urethane. To me, the Apex Solid was a urethane motion, but much stronger. It was urethane on steroids, basically.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and introduce that, because that's the first six. I was going to talk about the Apex series because all the other ones already had balls out in that first six, so they were kind of all right. What was the next part of that series? And when you guys are doing that in R&D, and you're saying, okay, we're going to introduce this, kind of go through the process, Ken, of when you're talking with everybody and you're developing this ball, you have everything else already. What made you go one with the color scheme that you went with the Apex? Because your what was it? The Brunswick had that color scheme out already, so it was kind of like, ooh, when I put mine on the shelf, everyone's like, oh, you got the new Brunswick. It was like, nah, no thanks. But talk about that when you developed this Apex Solids, obviously because it's the newest one in the new series. Talk about that.
Well, and color scheme wise, I mean that just came randomly because it ended up being that basically the Apex Solid and I think it's the Ethos
Yes.
basically released together. So when we already had this developed going through USB-C approval, we had no idea about that ball.
Okay.
We had no idea on the color. And it was, let's go with something different. We need something that's got that different shade. There's a lot of blue out there, but this is that different color to it. So it's gonna be something that stands out a little bit more.
Okay.
And then next thing we know, there's two balls on the market that are almost the identical color.
What about the pearl though?
Yeah, how about that one? What was with that one? Yeah, because that ball is so gorgeous. I love how gorgeous that ball is.
R&D has a very good understanding of colors. And I think, yes, to
Yes.
some, they may say the
Yes.
Judge Pearl looks a little ugly. Personally, it's a
I
fan of my
love
heart
it.
because it stands
Love
off the
it.
shelf. Stands off the
Love
shelf.
it.
But, I get it because, have some people that just kind of look for that gravitational. But it's one of those things where R&D and, the powers that are working these things take the time to look at color palettes. Take the time to take a look at see what's going to create sales. It's one of those things where we're not just putting a color together because right now we're the new kid on the block. We're hungry and we know we got to try to do what we can to make sure that these things catch eyes. And so I think that's the biggest thing that we try to do is just catch eyes. And, I think the more that we've done that, I think it's really kind of helped soften because nobody wants to look at like maybe, something that doesn't look spectacular. I mean, looking at the logo of the dragon, I think when we saw Dragon Solid and then having that pop on the Dragon Pearl, that red yellow kind of like, damn, I mean, hits you in the face. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, how do you not want to take that and that Apex 1-2, punch with the solid and the pearl, and that pearl absolutely is one of the most. It's one of the most eye-catching balls I think I've ever seen as it kind of comes to the shop because just it has the right colors and just
Yes.
gives the right feel and it actually kind of lives up on some of the performance aspect too, you know. And it's funny because we know Brian Valenta, former PBA.
PBA.
He actually PBA. He lives here in Florida, so he just pulled Florida State minutes this past weekend. So given flowers because he did get a little human. He had a 204 and still finished with 22-21 for all events for 9 games. And that's at Florida Men's State. So literally, props and flowers. He came very close to actually taking over the all events lead, but used the Apex Solid and used the Craze Solid. Used Craze Solid today. Shot, he goes 245, 242, 258. Fantastic. But yesterday it was all Apex and just absolutely goes, ham 1383. Or I'm sorry, 1476. Yeah, for six. Just insanity. So, it's cool. Like I said, we've talked about this before. Is when people start actually giving it a try, they're pleasantly surprised. And I think that's the biggest thing. Is once again we're telling the story. You had the Craze Solid and you had the Apex Solid, and works for a guy like Brian Valenta, who 9 times out of 10 is stuck and trapped because normally he's lofting everything in the world because it just doesn't blend the right way for him. And here we are, he's able to take these shapes and kind of make them work.
That's a interesting thing because the Apex, like I said, because it being the newest one on the block, the second six, and it didn't have anything in the first release. Not only you're talking about how Brian Valenta did it, but if you remember, or the kind of the public's first sight of the Apex was, I think Rad shot 300 with Stephanie Zavala in a tournament that they were doing, and he posted that, and he posted the last 3 shots, and the ball had that clean motion. And obviously, we know Sean gets up the back of the ball, but for it to get that clean motion and be able to make that turn and still sweep the deck, I thought was very huge for marketing for that ball. And then we talked about the colors. You have that green color ball that's just gonna pop to the eye. And again, you have this Hall of Famer throwing this ball, and its debut to the world is him getting all 12. I mean,
Yeah.
that cannot be a better debut for a ball.
Yep.
I know the marketing guy liked it because it's really cool to be able to post and say, "Hey, congrats." I mean, I think that's probably the best thing in the world is, and I think honestly, for anybody that shoots an honor score, please, please, please bring it to our attention. Let's give you
Oh,
your
for sure.
flowers. Let's kind of put it out there. It's one of those
Yep.
things again, we're just we're humbled enough that you guys took a chance on us. So let us, do what we can to help promote you.
Absolutely. Now, after talking about the Apex series, and it was that series that kind of where you could plug into your bag where things were missing. Let's talk about the second one that was the eye catcher. Obviously, the Apexes came out as a duo, so they came together.
I got one thing to say about the Apex.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
I just got one thing to say about the Apex. It is that one ball where you can just look at it and just say, I'm going to shoot something with it today. Like, literally, it is the one ball. I bowl with it like on every Friday for the most part. I've been put up 790, 770, 750s with no problem. So while the lanes are transitioning and everybody's ball is just hooking out the gym, I can still play that tweener zone, and my look especially with the Apex Pearl, looks phenomenal. And then even with the solid on fresh, I can still play right and still have that smooth motion to where I can literally kick out the corner pins.
Nice. Question for you. Let's go back to the Apex Solid then. What did you guys do different? Kent, you talked about it. Initially, it wasn't the shape that you wanted. I threw it right out of the box, and off the press, I was like, okay. I was able to carry with it. Did you guys make any changes to it initially? Because I noticed as it started to get some games in, and mine kind of gave that motion that you're talking about, that urethane motion. It's a little bit urethane on steroids. It wasn't going to make that big motion, but it was going to be that urethane controllable on steroids motion. Did you guys make any changes to the cover stocks or anything like that? Because the way I drilled it the first time, I had to actually go back and re-drill it because it was a little stand-uppy for me, and then I moved the pin a little bit to get it to make that corner. What about you guys? Did you guys crack the surface with it? Did you polish it? How did you guys go with it?
I didn't change anything with mine. It was and I wouldn't say that I was disappointed in it. It was a happy surprise, really. It wasn't what I expected the motion to be. But then when I saw it and I was like, okay, let me put a couple shots on this with it's fresh out of box. Let me get a couple shots on this and see if if what my eyes are seeing is true.
Okay.
And the more I threw it, the more I liked it.
Okay.
And was just like, oh yeah, this is something special. And I really in leagues, like I do my lives on TikTok every Tuesday night when I bowl league.
Okay.
And I've been kind of trying like each week. October was the exception because I throw everything pink in October.
Right.
But every week I try and showcase a different ball just so that people aren't just seeing the same thing on a house shot every week. And this last week I actually pulled out the Apex Solid because I was like, I haven't really been able to show this to you guys. So I'm going to pull it out. And I mean, throughout the night, I'm watching people all around me making ball changes. I'm watching people making big moves. I moved one board all night,
which is crazy for a righty.
Never changed lines. Threw the Apex Solid all night. Made a one board adjustment with my feet. Granted, I mean, our house has been notorious for a struggle with carry this year with new crown pins.
Okay.
So I struggled there and grinded out 650, 670, something like that.
I'll take that to grind out.
If I'm in the pocket all night and that's when I'm shooting, so be it, because that also means my spare game's on.
Yeah, And that's why I said that 670, I'll take that. And yeah, you're right. It's not about a bad motion. It was just sometimes when you hear benchmark, you're like, okay, I'm expecting it to do specifically this as a benchmark. And
Right.
when I threw mine the first time, I punched the pocket with it, and I was like, it didn't really, it was very, it came off the spot and it was just very continuous. And they use this term, it slowed down. And so when it came off the spot and it slowed down, which is very odd when you're bowling a house, and I was like, okay, maybe that's, and I re-drilled it because I was like, I didn't, it's not supposed to slow down. Maybe I did something wrong. And then I think I talked to you, and he was like, oh, no, no, no. It's not what you're thinking benchmark. It's this benchmark. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Now, okay, now
I
that's
remember
real.
that
That
conversation.
made sense. Okay. So, I had already re-drilled it, but I'm like, okay, now I know what hand position to be in with it now. I know where I need to play with it. And I know that I can control the lane with specifically this. So yes, you're definitely right on that one.
Well, and I
Anybody
think
that's a two-hander, please, 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 for the love of God, please try the Apex series. Take it from a two-hander himself. A two-hander himself that averages 230. This ball in this series, the solid and the pearl, have not disappointed me once. And I have not cracked the surface on either one.
Okay, so you kept your service. You
to be
kept your service.
glorious like that. Old guys like
But
Kent and I need to kind of
look,
take all the tricks out of the bag. But I
I,
think,
that's
I
all
haven't
power to
changed
the
surface
R&D
on any of
department.
mine either, just for
yeah,
reference. I haven't changed any
I
surface.
have not cracked it.
And this
yeah.
Tuesday, I
Well,
will be throwing the Apex Pearl.
Oh, nice, nice,
well.
nice.
I'm gonna throw it on Friday. We're gonna see who gets the better score, boss.
Well,
Oh boy.
Oh
Stay
boy.
tuned to that
how many
one.
pins
Stay
you
tuned
giving
to
me? I'm
follow up.
old and crippled. Come on.
I'll give you 10.
Ken.
I'll give you 10.
Yeah. For
Awesome.
me, I actually had to, so my stats, I don't match up. So I actually have higher speed, lower rev rate. 50 revs come from the ball return, so it's kind of one of those cool things. So anything that sits higher in the grit sometimes doesn't necessarily read the right part of the lane for me. And so instead of just completely mashing a pad on it, I just kind of lightly scuffed it with like a 500, 1000.
Okay.
Started with 1000, just kind of give it a little bit of a scuff with 500 because I wanted to see it. I need the ball for me. I need the ball to see the right spot at the right portion for me because I'm actually working the spot as opposed to that's just how, especially on Monday nights where things get a little bit more wonky, and so that's where I was able to kind of take the surface a little bit and allows me rather than when everybody's already jumped in and is kind of trying to bang through the cliff, especially in Florida, I'm able to kind of ride the line, the oil line, and
Okay.
kind of be that in between. So I'm able to kind of get it up a little bit more, which means that I have to play more into the puddle, which is the reason why I kind of also started up with a little bit more of the grit. Um, Works well for me, but one of the things that I would definitely say that was very surprising, and I'm pretty sure you guys can all probably speak to the same thing, the more games the ball got, the better the ball got.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
it's very rare that I can speak highly to that because sometimes you normally see a decrease in performance as the balls get more games on them. And yet to see that happen with my Dragon, I've definitely not seen that with my Apex. In fact, the Apex has actually gotten a little bit more benchmark for me because of that. And I'm also with the Fusion Hybrid. The more games that I've also gotten on with that, it's had the same exact concept too.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that series was just Friday night after I finished bowling. The guy that works the shop that I worked the shop with, he told me I was in Dallas last week. And he goes, "Hey, we drilled up a Apex. The guy came in the shop with one of your swag balls, and it was Apex." I go, "Green." He goes, "No, blue." And he's like, "This guy is 71 years old." I'm like, "Oh, he drilled up the Pearl." He goes, "Yeah, he took it over to one of the houses that we have here." And he said every time he hit the headpin, he struck. He's like, it didn't matter if he hit it light, if he hit it on top of it. He said he was like, it has so much hitting power. And I'm going, well, I didn't throw the pearls like that because I'm usually not a guy that throws a bunch of pearls. I said, but everyone that I know that throws the pearl, they just throw pins around. And I don't know what it is about that ball, especially you. But
Of
they
course.
throw pins around. And he was like, yeah, he is so ecstatic about this ball because he felt like now, obviously, as you start to get up in age and you're throwing the ball, you don't want to be trying to overthrow it. You want to just be able to get something off your hand and you be able to compete and get some decent scores. And he's just in love with it. So that Apex series, like the Craze series, came out the box. It kept that buzz that we talked about in the first show. In the first series, it kept that buzz going. And now it's not swag as a fluke. Now it's like, hey, swag is here. And I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but it's here. And a lot of people that are reviewing our balls, the Hutch, Charles Hutchison and Luke Rosdale, they're all saying the same thing. They're going, if you thought swag was not for real, you're not paying attention. It is here and now. They are competing and they're putting balls out there that the industry is going to like. And if you're going against it, you might be in trouble. And I love that, especially with that Craze series and with the Apex series. Speaking of the Craze series, the next ball that we're going to talk about, the Craze Hybrid. That ball was marketed, and I'm not a lover of white bowling balls, but it was something about this one. It was something about this one when it came out, and I'm just like, the Craze.
I was excited for this ball.
Oh, you was excited for this one?
And when it first came out and I tested it, one of the first things I wanted to test it, I wanted to get holes in it and test it quick.
Okay.
Before everybody was like, oh, white ball. No. Because I knew from the past with the pure diamond that we used to have California ball in the Legends line, white ball with polish equals a lot easier to clean.
Okay.
If you have a white solid without polish on it, that ball is just, forget it.
Yeah.
You're never going to
It's just dirt.
The only way you're going to clean it is resurface it.
Okay.
But one thing I wanted to demonstrate right off the bat was I can go out and use this. Most of what I'm getting off of the lanes, I'm able to wipe off with the chamois. And what doesn't come off, I can clean with some ball cleaner, at the end. And the true test of that was I bowled a doubles tournament in Amarillo here not too long ago. And man, I threw one shot with that ball and that ball came back looking nasty. But end of the day, I only ended up having to use it a couple games, got it home, cleaned it up with some ball cleaner.
Back normal.
It's
good as
that swag ball cleaner that restores the tech, right? I think that new swag ball cleaner.
I actually have not gotten a chance to use the green.
So I have used the
alien
swag
blood
ball
cleaner.
cleaner. It is the alien blood cleaner. I actually have used the ball cleaner. You can actually now get it at your favorite pro shop or e-retailer. And actually swagbowling.com. But it is one of those things where, yes, I think the R&D kind of was like, okay, if we're going to make a white ball, we should probably have the ball cleaner coming out here pretty quick. Okay. I actually cleaned all of them yesterday. And the one thing I sometimes a white ball or a lighter color ball is very difficult to get the stuff off. Whether you're using a ball cleaner or using something that you're probably not supposed to. But it takes a little bit more to get it off. But one of the things I did see with the Craze hybrid was not nearly as bad as I was expecting to. Okay. And what I mean that is I wasn't giving it like the old knuckle 9,000 trying to get that stuff off.
Right.
With the ball cleaner and stuff like that, it was an easy clean. But man, how vastly different. I mean, you had the Craze Solid, you had the Craze Pearl, but how vastly different could you make a Craze? And little and behold, and I think, Kent, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this hybrid really did bring the best of both of those worlds.
Oh, yeah. That ball's special. That ball's real special.
Okay. So as you're getting ready to release this one, what was kind of, obviously it's the white ball that we talked about. What was kind of the industry? Because obviously this was at the point where you were doing trade shows. It was in the middle, that early summer and things like that. And now it's already known that some of these balls are coming out. We're starting to put it out there on social media. What was kind of your feedback as you're going through these trade shows about specifically that one?
People were very, very intrigued.
Okay.
But the one comment that I got from people was it's white. It's gonna get dirty. And I told them, hey, I've tested it. I've thrown it. It's gotten dirty. I've wiped it with a chamois, used some ball cleaner, and it's white still because it's got the polish on it.
It still performs.
The performance level out of that ball is just that ball does not leave my bag. Period.
It's a staple.
Even in October, when I was throwing all pink, I still threw week one of October League. I still threw the Craze Hybrid because I have a pink sleeve in it.
I was
Oh,
gonna say you put pink Chris or
it's
Oh
pink bumper
there.
sleeves. That
man.
was the way to. That's
He
the way
said,
to
I'm
go.
gonna
Oh
find a
So
way
so
to suit
there's
the
man.
my
system.
there's my way of getting away with it.
Oh man.
All right, so as you're doing the R&D, obviously you had so much success with the Craze Pearl and the Craze Solid, and obviously we talked about that they were supposed to be on that lower tier, but they
Mhm.
outperformed that price point. As you're developing this ball, how are you going to say, how do you make it better? Are you trying to get a little bit more out of it because you already kind of know what you did? What was your thought process in adding a third ball to this line? Obviously, the Craze was the only ball that had two coming out initially. So adding a third ball to this line, what was the thought process? Were you trying to get it stronger, or with obviously it's down in the tier? So what's that thought process?
It's just making the best of both worlds.
Okay,
Taking the success of the solid and the pearl and putting them together.
okay,
So you end up getting a ball that will read a little bit sooner than the pearl will, you know, it, with it a little bit longer than the solid, but a little bit reading a little bit sooner than the pearl, but still having that stronger back end motion, stored energy and drive that you had with the pearl.
okay, okay. How about you, Kobe? I know you
Well,
threw it.
at first I unfairly judged it. Unfairly, just because I had such like a high expectation with the solid and the pearl. I had so much success with it. And anybody that knows me, like, prior to swag, has known that hybrids have been like the best thing that I have thrown.
Okay,
So when they announced the craze hybrid, I'm like, that's impossible that you can sit here and like make this ball better,
right.
right? I started throwing a few shots with it. Obviously, like I'm not really gonna be throwing it because it's white and I have about 550 revs. So it's like, yeah, no, that ball's gonna get dirty after two shots. I prefer not to, but the reason why I unfairly judged it is because I tried it in a house that had a tighter like back end, in which for me, I'm like, it didn't work as well as the other equipment. But once I took it to another, like other houses where it had a little bit more friction, that ball pretty much came to life. And it broke the stereotype that white bowling balls cannot strike.
No, they can't. I mean,
That
and you
that pretty
also,
much just came right. But
yeah,
that is the only ball that I ever cracked with Surface. I had to put 1,000 on it.
Okay.
and I mean it. And I hit mine. I hit cracked mine also. But I think one of the other things you're going to start seeing, especially a lot more, and I think can't you confirm, we're going to start getting the covers a little bit more dialed in. You're going to start seeing covers that are going to be a little bit more responsive. You're going to start seeing covers that are a little bit more, um, not that we played it safe, but we wanted to play it smart. And now that we've played it smart, now we're going to have occasionally a ball here or there. You're going to see a little bit different nuance because the covers are going to be a little bit more responsive, or the covers may do a little bit more something different. And I think that's probably the thing that's probably the most exciting. And I think that Craze Hybrid was one of those covers that, we did it a little bit different, and that difference is starting to come out.
Is that
Yep.
because of obviously production of obviously different continent, things like that, where that the polish and where they bowl at and where we bowl at is a little bit different. So as they're producing it, you're producing it for two different continents and different conditions. So you're kind of doing something in the middle, or is that just kind of like you're producing it and now you're like, okay, we can make a tweak to that.
Well, I think first and foremost, we wanted to see the balls actually do the right thing. I think that was the biggest thing. The next piece is the fact that, in production, and if any manufacturer told you that every single Pro Ball comes out the right way, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It depends if your ball's sitting on the first of the cycle or if it's sitting on the end of the cycle before the new polish is being applied.
Okay.
That's going to have a big difference too, especially in the production thing.
Okay.
We try to minimize as much as you possibly can on that. And I think the biggest thing now is just simply understanding the formulations that make the most amount of sense. What cover stocks are actually, playing nice in the sandbox with polish, or, is this something that we really, I mean, and yes, there is a lot more higher friction overseas. And so I think through more cover stock that R&D is testing, you're going to see a lot more coming out just because the simple fact is now that we have cores that are starting to be proven, now we have the ability of kind of manipulating the tires, which has given us a little bit more of a strategic advantage. As case in point, I think everybody can agree too, was the Fusion Hybrid was another of those formulation components too.
Okay.
I can't wait to talk about this
Yeah,
one.
we're going to talk about that in 1 second. I do want to go
Ooh.
back to Kent to that Craze hybrid. I do remember your review that you put out on there. I think it was you and Connor, your son Connor, throwing it. How is it having a two-hander in the house with you where you could kind of see both the best of both worlds when you're doing these tests?
Oh, it's phenomenal. And one of the greatest things is being able, I mean, not only to do videos with him because he's my son,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to show people, sometimes it's the same ball. It's my ball that is drilled up for me.
Okay.
Our spans are close enough, our pitches are almost identical that he can put his thumb in it and be able to throw it. We change out the grips so that the grips fit him.
Okay.
Thumb user. He's a thumb user.
He is. He's two-handed
He's a
with a thumb.
Wow.
He's a thumb user.
Oh,
Oh
man.
man,
He
he
got the
hit a lot. Hit a
thumbs.
lot
Okay.
of points, man.
We need to get him a shirt that says that. Swag thumb user.
Yeah, swag thumb user.
So, I mean, being able to show that to people, both those aspects of same lane conditions, at the same time, two different styles throwing, lines right across one another is really key. I think it's one of the best things, I've been doing videos a long time, and I think it's one of the best things that we've incorporated into the videos and being able to show these things.
Okay.
I think also, like, to add to your point, Kent, it also showcases the fact that, like, you can pretty much play any part of the lane. You can play a little bit straighter. You can play, basically play like your little happy zone, and then you can move further left to pretty much the gutter cap. But it doesn't also, like, with having Connor there with you, it also speaks to how well the ball could roll for a two-hander as well. So
Yes.
you have every single aspect covered, just not any lefties.
Hey.
So
Okay, so what? Now I
my
got to
bad.
start throwing
I
lefty
thought you
too?
weren't here. My bad.
Yeah, I thought that was great about that video because I remember that video vividly. I think you threw like 5 shots and then Connor came in through 5 shots and you both started from the same area. And I remember when you threw it, like I think your first couple of shots kind of went through the nose and you kind of moved in, and his literally crossed over. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're throwing them in the same area, but his was like, okay, he threw it. Then he goes, all right, we're gonna go back to that area, and I'm gonna get up the back of it now. And he got up the back of it, and it just held the line, and it struck. And I'm like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
it's showing that versatility of that ball and how it doesn't matter. This ball can fit any bowler.
And that's one thing about the videos that we do that I really like is because he's learned more about being able to change hand positions. I've for years I've done different hand positions. If I'm moving right, I'm flatter, I'm more out the back of the ball. And so it shows, one-handed being able to change your hand position, how that ball roll is going to change.
Right.
But seeing a two-hander do it is really good as well.
Nice.
So, but from what Kobe said, maybe I'm going to have to work on my lefty game. And
maybe I should just do more ball videos.
All you gotta do is just flip the video. Just flip the video and they'll be fine.
Or I could just throw it lefty.
There you go.
I can do that.
According to everybody, our arrow is this big, so it might be.
Okay.
Y'all got the world, man.
There
You
you
have the world.
Is the arrow not that big?
Yeah,
Not that big?
I tell people,
Okay,
you know what
good.
it is. I will be the first lefty to admit it is easier on the left-hand side because you don't have as much friction. The only time it gets harder is obviously on patterns where they are trying to shut the lefty out and you don't have a breakdown point. So you spend 5-6 frames breaking the lane down to kind of what you want to see. You're giving the game away on those longer oil patterns with more mills. You're giving games away just to kind of set the lane up. But where you guys you can kind of say, oh, Kobe's here, there's your break point. For me, it takes a little bit on those tougher patterns. But I will be the first. If it is house, we can walk into the alley, throw 2 shots, and compete because I'm never moving again.
You said it's easier? You said it's easier, right?
I will say that we do have a easier time on the
I
left
might
hand
have to learn a
side.
backup ball now. I'm gonna learn a backup ball.
Yeah,
To throw
Jalen
it the
does
same
that. My
way.
son does it. He go, "Oh, you think you're going to strike all day?" And then he throws chalk in the backup area and like, whatever. You
Yep.
two-handers with no
Yep.
thumb. Um,
They say there's defense in
The
bowling. I'm just
greatest,
saying.
the greatest thing known to man.
So let's talk about our next ball, which is the Fusion Pearl. No, wrong.
Hybrid.
Fusion Hybrid.
Hybrid?
Like,
Um,
if you don't mind, I want to go first,
yes,
just based on performance.
yes.
Just off performance, because this ball, I have literally put up so many great sets with this one, and it is another ball that is just a big staple. It's a staple where if you literally need a little bit more pop with that fusion, this ball is it. And Brandon, I'm pretty sure you bowl at Arena before, where Arena is known for having over/under reactions. It is known for it. This ball, after last season, I averaged 225 there at Arena, throwing with the fusion. I'm like, all right, cool. I just shot 760 this morning with it. And now I'm at 240 throwing this ball. I'm at 240 throwing this fusion hybrid. And it's pretty much just strictly the fusion hybrid. Just because it blends the lane out so well, and it is still strong enough to where if you need a little bit more of a back end motion compared to that Apex solid, this is it.
And it's why I always get that name mixed up with that one, because it's always like when I watch it, it was like it gets that extra 2 feet. That solid will kind of grab that mid. It gets that extra 2 feet, but then you watch it on the back end, and I look at it from my fusion solid to the hybrid. When it makes that move, you're like, oh man, here it comes. It's where the solid was a lot smoother. Like that solid is so sexy because it just when it makes the move, it's just like I'm coming. I'm gonna push everything out the way. Excuse me. The hybrid when it makes that turn, it's like explosion, and it is so beautiful. Like when you hear the deck with that ball, it is just nasty.
Shelf appeal is out of this world. Shelf appeal is out of this world. It's probably the most eye-popping ball that we have.
Go ahead, Kent.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with him.
But yeah.
But no, I mean Fusion Hybrid, I was excited for this ball right from the get-go. Simply because I really like the fusion, and I remember going back to California bowling, the ace that we had. I loved the ace.
Okay.
And this was basically a newer version of that ball. And I had honor scores with the ace, so I was looking really forward to this. And when I first threw the fusion hybrid, it kind of just blew my mind because it was like, okay, I love the ace. This is even better. It's got even more pop. It's got more drive, more stored energy.
Yes.
Okay. And I know you the ace was one of the balls that when the rebrand came out, I think you did compare like the Fusion series to that ace. What would you say makes it comparable and then gives it that extra?
It just and I think a lot of it is the color blend.
Okay.
Because I mean a lot of people don't know colors play a factor in ball performance.
Yes.
And so
yes they do.
When you're going through R&D, you're not only looking at a core cover combination, but you're looking at this is how we want this ball to perform. What color combination is going to tweak this ball to get exactly what we want out of it?
Okay.
So you're looking at, when you're in R&D, you're looking at core, you're looking at surface, you're looking at the cover stock that's on, and you're looking at the color scheme. This color scheme is not just shelf appeal.
Okay. I remember that the ace was purple and black, and the Fusion Solid, the first one came out, was a little bit lighter purple, but it had that black and it had the orange in it and things like that. So it makes sense that they kind of came together. How about you, Jim?
So one of the things that I distinctly noticed difference between the Apex and the Fusion was very effective when I needed to keep it forward. and I needed to attack it with a slight moderation of an angle, but more north-south, as opposed to something that I needed something that was maybe east or west.
Okay.
And so down here we have a, Lake of Oil in the middle, and then we have the Sahara Desert on the outside. So we do have a really moderate cliff. And so ideally, I'm going to attack it with the fusion to start, and then I'm going to clean it up with the apex, afterwards, because I'm going to have to open up my angles. And that's where I saw the difference was that the fusion does well, but not as well as, let's say, it's use the right tool at the right time.
Okay.
And so I'm going to start off with the fusion hybrid. I'm going to work the line. And then when I have to make a jump left, I've already established the down breakpoint motion. And that's where I can get it to with the Apex series.
Okay.
And so that's where I use that as a tandem component. I already know that for the fusion, rarely will I go 3 games, because the simple fact is usually here the things start opening up. And when they start opening up, I just want to go to something that is more effective there. And I know exactly what I have with the fusion and know exactly how I want to use it.
Okay.
So it's crazy to say that is, sometimes you use a ball or you're going to use a golf club for a certain amount of time, and then you're going to switch out because you just simply know that you need a more effective tool. And so that's okay. It's one of those things where I know if I can get, it was bad as with, here down with League, I may be able to get 6 frames with a high ASIM. Whereas with a fusion, I can get to a game and a half. And so it's all about trying to get that repetition. It's all about trying to get those components. This is something that the guy below me doesn't know about because he's thrown with 2 hands and he has 1,000,000 miles an hour. So for me,
You know
I got to
what?
take all the little, it's I take all the tricks out of the book. I take whatever grip tape, whatever things I can do to kind of get to manipulate the roll the right way. And I'm just thankful that I can get the fusion to start with consistency, keeping it in front of me, and then just kind of make that slow transition move either to the Apex series, or if they got so severely cliffed, I'm jumping back into the ASIMs to finish out the games, just
Okay.
because of that, how much of a significant difference, especially that we see up here in Florida or down here in Florida.
Okay. I want to double back down on you, Jim, for a second, because Kobe and Ken, obviously, they were throwing the older series, the California Bowling series of the swag bowling balls, where me and you came in differently. Now, obviously, I had thrown them years prior before leaving and coming back. But as the new equipment, whether it was the first 6 or the second 6, we were kind of the new coming back in. We were signing and we're coming back in. When you were looking at bowling balls and you saw both the Fusion Solid and the Fusion Hybrid, what was your immediate thought? Because obviously you're coming out of other brands and you kind of knew what you liked in those brands. When you saw those, what did it immediately click and say, I need that for this?
Well, and so great question, because literally some of the things that I saw was that, it's that Fusion gave me a little bit more of a forward feel, which was fine. But I think one of the biggest things that I also saw is that when I was looking more at the Fusion, I saw some similarities. When I saw similarities, in fact, let me see, I'm trying to think of it through. We were talking about, like the radical, sneak attack, where it's kind of like you keep it front and forward, do. No disrespect. Venom Shocks, IQ Tours, they have that same concept where they're very effective this way. They're very effective when you're able to play your angles this way, stand, keep it getting forward, and contemplate that way. Maybe even the Brunswick Alert, or even like the DB8 Dark Side. It's one of those things where, much love and respect to all those pieces. They have a significant feature, and I think that was one of the things that we decided. R&D really kind of said, hey, we need something that's going to be kind of similar to those. That's going to allow our players to kind of get this way with the angles as opposed to being completely set up like that.
Okay.
I think was probably the biggest thing.
Ken, I'm gonna double down on that with you too. Obviously, you're bowling with all these other brands around, and you're kind of in the thick of this when the balls are being made. How, in your thought process, as you're watching the 9,000 balls that are coming out around you, and you're trying to hone everything in for our brand and say, you know what, every brand has a this and that. When it came to those Fusion hybrids or the Fusion series, period, obviously you had the first one that came out and then you had the hybrid. How are you going into it looking, saying, okay, the industry has this, but we need this, but we want it to be our identity.
Well, and it's really, and looking at it from a pro shop perspective, you're really having to look at everything that's on the market and then look at, these fusions and see what they're comparing against. And especially with the original fusion, it was let's get this. It's that benchmark type ball. Let's get it on the market, see where it fits with everybody else, and then see where we need to make some tweaks or adjustments moving forward.
Okay.
And I think with the Fusion, it was definitely hitting a home run, with those tweaks and adjustments with the hybrid cover stock, making it a little bit more poppy than the original Fusion was. You're still in that benchmark range where you can use it playing up the boards. You can go left and you can swing it. And it's just really just trying to find the niche. I mean, every company is trying to find that one little niche where they can get one step above somebody else.
Right.
And it's hard to do with there's so many balls on the market. And then on top of that, when you're developing these and you're in R&D and you're sending them to USBC for approval, you're like, okay, we're hitting this spot where we want to be with this ball. And then maybe right when you're releasing or right before you release, something hits the market that's right at that same mark. And you're like, okay, how are we going to compare against it? How are we going to compete against it? And that's where we really just rely on the guys like the Hype and Luke and even myself doing videos, everybody that's out there doing ball reviews. Some of the guys like Luke and Charles for sure can make that comparison a little bit better because they're throwing everything else. So when you're hearing somebody like Charles say this ball's really good and it's comparing against this, that's that mark you want to hit.
Yeah, I think in his ball video, and it's funny, I just watched that comparison last night. It was the Fusion, I think it was Ion Pro that he was throwing it with. And you're watching both motion, he's like, ooh, ooh, every time he would throw the Fusion. And that I wondered how that worked for you because, like I said, you got 19 other companies releasing balls, and it's not like we talked about the first 6 where they kind of came out by themselves. Now the second 6 was competing with what was coming out industry standard. Now, obviously, because Swag was kind of the new kid on the block, it had that buzz, and now everybody's going to see, can we duplicate the success that we had? But now you are competing against those balls. And so I wanted to know, like, as you're developing, you're saying, look, we had success with this and we need this, but we got to make sure that it is on point because if we don't, we could lose that buzz that we have. So
right.
I think we did a great job of that.
And at the same time, I think we're creating enough buzz and putting enough traction in the industry that not only is it we're trying to make our mark amongst everything else, but now the other companies are also looking at what we're doing and going, we've got to try and hit that one mark above to try and keep Swag down here.
Right. Okay.
They know we're coming.
Yeah, they can feel it. And I what I love about it is, even though we're new and before we always kind of been kind of the fun company, now people are saying, even from other manufacturers, like, I don't know what Swag is doing over there, but whatever they change or whatever they're doing in their development or whatever they're engineering, it's working. And we literally have a problem on our hands. It's like that little brother that you have. You're the oldest out of your 4 brothers, and everybody always talk about the youngest one is going to be best out of all of them because he done been through the big brothers and he got to fight through all of them. And that's kind of the buzz that Swag has right now. Everybody's like, yeah, Brunswick's great. Storm is always going to be good. They are great at what they're doing. But are you guys really watching the little brother? Because they're coming and they're coming quick and they're learning and they're learning from everything else that everybody else is doing. And so you have to pay attention to them.
Well, and like I said in episode 1 at the trade shows, we had guys from other companies that would come over to the booth asking questions. Now, granted, these are guys that have their own pro shops too. So they're looking at, gaining knowledge for when their customers come in.
Okay.
But, you get some of those guys that they're with a company whether they're staffed or employed, that's all that they're going to push in their shop, period.
Right.
You come in asking a question about a Brunswick ball or a Modi ball in the storm shop or a swag ball in a storm shop, they're not going to be looking to answer your questions. They're going to say, well, we've got this right here.
Okay.
But a lot of these other guys were coming over wanting the knowledge. What are you guys doing?
Okay. We're pushing the envelope now.
Well, I think the other thing is this. If we're making good stuff and all the other manufacturers are making great stuff because they're trying to keep up with the great stuff, and we're all trying to keep up with the great stuff, who benefits the most? The bowler.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the fun part about this, is the fact that, I think we relish the idea of being able to compete with the other manufacturers, and we want to be held against standards. And I think that's the biggest thing is we're comfortable being able to be comfortable like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one of those things where we're going to shy away from it. I think we're going to embrace it. I mean, simple fact is, if other bowlers, not us, if other bowlers are making comparisons to an IQ or a Venom, we're humbled. I think,
Mm-hmm.
These are things that other manufacturers have done a very good job of establishing something that was great. And if we have an opportunity to see small signs of greatness as we're kind of elevating as we go, I think it's just as fantastic. I think that's the biggest thing about it is we know that we understand that we have a long way to go. We're here for the long haul, and we're just excited to see what comes.
I love it. I love it. Our last two. In our first series, in our first show, we talked about these balls first. They were the big boys. They were the most developed. They were the ones that pushed and everything like that. But now it's the follow-up. And it's, of course, our Judge Pearl and our Black Dragon Pearl. Kent, you know how much success there was with those two and how everybody wanted to fight. No, this one is bigger. This one is bigger. This one is more big. That fight. So now you're going through this development. You're saying, okay, everybody loves these, but we need to give them a same look, but something different that they can stay in this series. And obviously, they're at the top of the chain. You're going through your R&D. You already know what the buzz is. Talk to us about that as you're going to say, all right, here's our money makers, and now we're going to try and do it again. Talk about that process.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing with both the Dragon and the Judge was just creating a Pearl version that gave you the still that same great performance that you had in the original solids, but just that Pearl version getting you that little bit longer down lane, a little bit more back end, but still keeping it within reason, still keeping it a controllable piece for people, not trying to do anything crazy and make it too big of a ball.
Okay.
Because that's where you get into trouble is, you try and create too big of a ball that people either can't use because there's not enough volume, or you get something that just wants to hockey stick off the spot. And so both of these came, perfect complement to the original solids, getting a little bit longer down lane, still great back end motion with lots of retained energy. But just that little cleaner through the heads, but nothing crazy on the back end.
Okay. Well, the reason why I wanted to ask that question is because we talked about in our first show how you could go 1-2 punch with them all day long. Mm-hmm. Where if you needed to get that east and west, you could go into that Dragon. But if you needed something that could dig and kind of make that mid lane, smoother motion, you could be in your Judge. Now you're asking yourself to kind of do that with each ball. So, when you're going through that process, it's like, you want, like you said, you don't want to get yourself into trouble. But at the same time, how do you, in a sense, keep them complementing each other?
Well, between the four of them, if you're in a long block set in a tournament, you've got everything you could use right there for most of your blocks.
Okay.
I honestly hadn't put a lot of games on my Dragon Pearl until just recently. I pulled it out when I bowled that doubles over in Amarillo. And it was, those lanes were getting torched. There was no re-oils. It was 3-game blocks, bracket style. And high friction house to start with. I was right from the get-go just letting it fly to the outside and watch it rip.
Okay.
And
you had what you needed.
yeah, and was able to stay pretty much in the Dragon Pearl all day. And that was my defining moment with it, really getting that comfort level with it. And between that, Judge Pearl, you know, you like I said, in a long game block, like I probably could have started the day using the Judge or Black Dragon Solid,
Mhm.
and then migrated into the Pearl versions. I saw a really good look right from the get-go with the Dragon Pearl, so was just able to stay with it. But if you're bowling something that's a long game block where you're starting with a heavier oil volume, I mean, these four balls all together,
As a
you're
single.
gonna find a spot for them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna come into play and find their spot in that set.
Kobe, I know you fell in love with your Judge Pearl right out the gate. I mean, yes, Mr. 820 with your Judge Solid, we know, yeah. But with your Judge Pearl, what was different for you? Because obviously you already had kind of that look that you loved with both your Dragon Solid and your Judge Solid, but now you put these pearls in your hand. How did it change the game for you? Obviously, in Chicago, we talked about in our first episode how they shorten the oil in some of our houses. So as you start
Hmm.
to put these pearls in your hand, how did that change for you now that you had your kind of almost your same look?
To be honest, I feel like the Judge Pearl was one of those things where it actually outperforms the solid. Just because when I had to pull on heavier friction, the solid would try to dig in too much to where, it just basically just hook at your feet. But then that pearl would give you like that extra length that you need while still maintaining that like strong, even rolling shape where especially when I had to like move left, like that pearl would still like be driving through the pins. Now, if I had to make like a super big jump left, like like we have at Stardust, then yeah, I would basically go into my Black Dragon Pearl, and I can just feed it right. But the thing about the Black Dragon Pearl that a lot of people don't like realize, it has like in my opinion, and you guys can agree with me if you want to, it has the most back end out of all the bowling balls that we have on the market
Okay, that's a big statement.
because the way that it gets down, like especially when you feed it to friction, it's coming back like really back, like really hard,
Okay,
and it it basically is one of those things where Kent laughs at me because that's where most of my 9 pins come from. Is literally I flush the pocket and it drives so hard that it just blows right past the 9.
Hey, don't feel
But
bad. I'm right there
the
with you,
thing
Kobe.
that but the thing that's the most shocking to me is what Swag is still preaching. It's a continuous motion while still being able to maintain your angles. So it still preaches to like, us being different as a brand compared to everybody else. Like we're all about balance and everything. And even though they still hook out the gym, they're still going to basically still give you that motion where you can still keep your tighter angles when you need to while still being strong enough to give you that miss room that you need.
okay. Jim, what about you and your judge and Black Dragon Pearls?
So the big thing that, especially as I'm looking at my bag and my arsenal and stuff like that, can't hit it on the head. If you're longer formats, obviously these things are riding along with you. Um, if you picture bowling balls being like a ladder, right? And the high performance balls are the very top of the ladder, things get a little bit more shaky, when you're at the top of the ladder. So when you have those Judge Pearls and you have that Dragon Pearl that kind of balances out the top of that ladder, it makes it a lot easier, especially if you want to kind of create that transition. Um, it was one of those things where the first six, it was very easy to identify the gap.
Mm-hmm.
I saw big gaps between the Unreal and the Dragon. Saw a big gap kind of between Judge and Unreal, or even Judge and Dragon, depending on how you had it laid out, where now when the six came here and we're like Judge Pearl, Dragon Pearl, I'm like, oh no, that gaps are now filled. And I think that was the biggest thing is for me, I could literally, if I'm playing well in a house where the dragon is just excelling, and the problem is I don't want to give up the zone, so I don't want to move. Now, technically, if I have the Dragon Pearl, I'm literally playing right on top of that zone and being able to maintain it. That's zone integrity, I think is probably a great way to talk about it. And if you're bowling a PBA event or you're bowling a versus league, where league is going to be a constant dance back and forth. But if you're having to maintain zone integrity on a tournament pattern, or you're having to maintain zone integrity just because, certain just how the way they go, these balls fit and help maintain zone integrity, especially when you need something big. Because let's face it, if you're facing a cliffed pattern, if you go with a benchmark crawl, that's not going to really have an opportunity to blend or get through that cliff and have that ability to come back.
Right.
Whereas now you have, if that judge is starting 2 or 3 feet sooner, but you have that Judge Pearl, now you're able to still break through that cliff and still have enough left in the tank.
Mhm.
I think that was kind of some of the other things is maybe, the judge, maybe, unless you're Kobe, it's the one of those things where you may lose a little bit where it kind of burns. Now you have that Judge Pearl where that burn isn't really as impacted. Same thing with the Dragon. The beautiful thing about the Dragon was literally just absolutely became special swag, and then announce a Dragon Pearl right there just completes the speciality even more. I
Okay.
think is probably the best way that I kind of described it, the way I saw it.
Okay. Speaking of the dragon, and Ken, I'll ask you the same question as I asked before. These balls are coming out. Again, you're at these trade shows. They were the ones that had that buzz. And obviously, even within the swag community, people were making chamois with that dragon. People just loved that black and red. I think even Charles Hudson with his, what did he call it? He didn't even call it the Black Dragon Pearl. He
The
called it
red
the red
dragon.
Red
Red
Dragon.
dragon.
So when it came to that, and you're obviously, again, we have this buzz and you're about to release these, you're in these shops. Was it the gravitation to it like it was the Craze hybrid, the white and things like that? Was it
Oh
that
yeah.
gravitation?
Oh yeah, for sure. I
Okay.
mean, basically, I don't think that there was anything within the new six that didn't pull that gravitational pull, that
Okay.
the people to the table.
Okay.
Because if it was, either the new version of something that there's already been that huge buzz about, or that's had success in those shops, now I mean, again, with the Apexes, now you've got a brand new nameplate. That's drawn attention over.
Okay.
But I mean, for sure, I mean, one of the biggest attention grabbers at the tables was the Judge Pearl, because those colors
Beautiful ball.
hot.
Beautiful ball.
Those
man.
colors were flying off the table.
Okay. Okay. So
Look, to be
it made
honest,
it smart.
as a consumer, as a person that just bowls, right? I basically kind of like, when I basically, threw bowling balls beforehand, I just like bowling balls based off of color. Like, ooh, that has a nice color. Let me just go grab that.
Mhm.
But the thing about the newest six that, to Kent's point, is that's eye popping about it is the it's not only the shelf appeal behind it, but it has shelf appeal and performance.
Okay.
Because you could have a great looking bowling ball that you like throwing, but it just doesn't match up. But you have all these other six from Swag that look and perform well.
Okay.
So that's like a double like whammy when it comes to the market.
All right. Now, we've talked about all six of the balls. You did do it different this when it came out to the release this time. You had 3 and 3, and then I think one of them, one set of 3 had a pushback. How nervous did that make you as you're like, okay, we're ready, and then you had this little setback with that pushback? How did that were you kind of nervous, like, no, don't lose the buzz? We said it was going to be here, and then we had to push it back. How was that?
It was a little nerve-wracking. Because originally the original plan was release all 6 together like we did in January. And then it was I think it was the Judge Pearl was the last ball that we were getting in our shipments.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like,
Yep.
okay, well, the Dragon the Dragon, the Fusion are coming a little bit later than the others. They're a little bit later than expected, and then the Judge is going to be right behind those. So let's stagger the releases.
Okay. Okay.
Let's do a stagger, 3 and 3. All right, cool, no problem. And then there's a delay,
Oh,
and it's like, okay, we're gonna get the balls to the warehouse in time for worldwide release date,
okay.
but by the time we get them to distributors, the distributors get them to pro shops, it's past worldwide.
Okay.
So we had to we said, okay, let's just give it a week pushback, just a little bit, so we can get them to the distributors and they can be able to get them out to people to fulfill the orders that we were already bringing in from trade shows.
Okay. I know, as again with that buzz, and you got so much coming in, you're like, here it is. Oh God. And, so I do. But it was so smooth. Like, I don't even think people noticed it that it was a week late. I don't think even people noticed it, because you might have.
I'm glad that they didn't.
But
Because there was a lot of daily phone calls. Where are we at? Where's the shipment? What are we doing?
But I think and that's why I wanted to ask that question, because it's so much buzz, and the 3 that you mentioned happened to be the 3 that was in there. And it's like, okay, it did make okay for the Apex, because it's like, all right, well, since these are kind of late, there's your debut. And we're going to put you in the Craze, which kind of people know already. So it'll get its buzz, and it got its own debut. So that was, again, unintentional, but great marketing in a sense, where people could get their hands on the newest swag ball and not worry.
It ended up being a blessing in disguise with being able to have those Apexes kind of have their own identity with their own release date. Even though they were with the Craze Hybrid, which was already had a bunch of buzz coming around it.
Right.
But it let them kind of have their own individuality.
I like that. And I was, again, it was unintentional, but it worked out for the best, because people got to see, and Apex is a name that just kind of reaches out. Ooh, they got the Apex coming out. What is that all about? So perfect for that. We had this question.
I actually have a question for Mr. Jim.
Uh-oh.
I have a question for Jim. Yeah, we haven't talked to you in a while, bud. I got one question. So with the wave of releases, just over the course of the year, and you obviously running the social media page and everything, how did you feel, like, just seeing, like, how people are just trying swag and having, like, these this newfound success with it, especially with the second wave of releases, especially, like, even like Patrick Popejoy, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He just shot his first 700.
First 700.
Brandon Bebro just
Brandon
he shot
with the 812.
Brandon shot 812. And everybody's posting about it in the swag page and having that buzz. So how does it make you feel, like, just being able to just look at it and go, wow, this is our product. Look at how far that we've come over the course of this entire year.
Humbled, I think, is probably the best word to put it. Coming from, other manufacturers and stuff like that, I think one of the biggest things that I think resonated when I started here with swag was humbled beginnings. I think is probably the biggest thing. Let's face it, we've been kicked around a lot. And one of the things that we had to kind of first do was eliminate the stereotype that swag wasn't really legit. Humbled, one of the things is one of our staffers are really taking an attitude. One of the biggest things that we want to do is we want to celebrate wins. We want to celebrate everything. I think is probably the biggest component is just, let's just stay consistent. Let's keep putting out great products. Let's do this without an ego, I think, is the biggest thing. We're not here saying we're going to be the best or we're going to beat anybody down. No, that's not how we're going to operate. How we're going to operate is we're going to cater to our customers. We're going to help our customers the best way, best foot forward. Occasionally, we're going to have a game here, game there, but it's really cool when you see somebody shoot their first 700. Somebody increase their average from 163 to 200. That's a huge, huge piece. And, the fact is, if you have a smile on your face and you love what you do, is it really considered a job? It's one of those things where if we see, our customer base that does take a chance on this and sees that we have an opportunity, we have availability, to kind of help them in their game. One of the big things with Swag Fans is the fact that you can join the fans group and you can pose a question, and probably 9 or 6 different people are going to respond with assistance. I think that's the biggest thing is all of our staffers. I think probably the really cool thing was watching Ken's email inbox just completely blow up with the amount of people that were interested in becoming staff. Why? Because I think we're on the cusp of something great. And we're just going to maintain that. We're going to maintain that tone. We're going to maintain sending flowers out to everybody. The big thing is, we think that we have a very good product, and we're going to do whatever we can to kind of do it the right way. Sometimes people do things the wrong way. Sometimes people do things the right way. We've seen the error of ways, and we'll own it. We'll do whatever we can to make sure that our customers feel comfortable, and we'll just eventually get there. I think that's the biggest thing is I don't need to be number one tomorrow. Eventually, I'll get to a point where we're going to be competitive with everybody. And I think the more that we just keep putting out great things, Kobe keeps shooting 750s and making everybody look like superstars, I think is the best way to go. But the beautiful thing that I have is having great conversations. I think we've all, for Swag this year, all of us have had really better conversations with people that are curious. And we're having better conversations because now we have really cool talking points. And hey, I don't know about you, but 2026 seems a pretty bright future. And I'm excited for the good things to come. And hopefully we'll have new people, new faces joining us on the way. One of the interesting things that I saw stat-wise for Facebook the Swag page is up to right now, we've had 1.3 million views just taking a look at us and seeing what we're doing different.
Wow.
And as long as we keep having that and we keep growing that, my job here is done.
Wow.
Well, Kent, I was gonna say, obviously, you're with the R&D department. You're pretty much like the man upstairs for the most part. How does it make you feel just seeing the balls that you're putting out? People are loving it, and people are just having so much success versus the amount of success that people have had with California bowling.
Well, with me going on, basically being involved with this company almost 14 years and seeing where it's come from when I started as a staffer all the way to now is phenomenal. And knowing that the communications that I have with kind of the powers that be now and listening to the input and everything and the feedback, the communication that we have back and forth and seeing that implemented and the success people are having with it just puts a big smile on my face. It makes it all worth it. It makes, the long days, long nights, working on the weekends, travel, everything, worth it. It really does.
I think
Okay.
Brandon,
I'm gonna ask you a question, Brandon,
ahead.
because we've been asking you've been asking me a lot. I'm gonna ask you some questions too, sir.
Go ahead.
We're gonna get your input. So I know that you've obviously had a lot of success with the older California bowling, like the Swagger Bomb and the Incredible Phenom. You shot 300 with the Incredible Phenom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with having that prior knowledge with Lane Masters and even with the couple bowling balls that you had beforehand, like with the Buffalo and everything like that, how do you see Swag's success in 2025 as a whole, and where do you think it's going to go as a staffer in 2026?
Being on California Bowling, I think I came in just a little bit after Kent did originally when I was on that staff. And so I saw how it was then, and now looking at it how it is now, it's like anything else. Like I'm in IT as a regular person, and it progresses, it grows, it multiplies, but it gets better. It performs and it grows, right? That's what I've seen from one, not only the bowling balls, but the staffers, the people in charge. Like Kent, obviously there were different people in charge when we came in, but now with him, his vision and seeing the bigger picture. And what he has done is taken that and put that to the staff. I want to see us do XYZ. I want us to be and when he gives us the direction, hey, put it on your social media page, put your scores up there, show, don't be shy about being a part of swag. And I think that's what has transformed the staff. And then with the bowling balls, it has kind of followed that same mantra. Like you said, I've shot 300 with the swag ball. I shot it with the Incredible Phenom, 300 with the Incredible Phenom. But I can see the difference. I was never one of the ones that said swag couldn't hook, because I can hook a bowling ball, right? So that was never in my mind. But I'm looking at the performance of the Fusion and of the Apex and of the Black Dragon, and I'm going, this ain't that. This, you can tell there was personal thought and engineering into these bowling balls, and now they have risen above what they have been to another level that now people have to pay attention to it. And it's made my game better, because obviously as I start to get older, there's a lot of things that I can't do. You get injuries, you get all those things like that, and I'm still able to compete. I'm still able to compete with my Black Dragon. I'm still able to compete with my Judge. I'm still able to compete with all these bowling balls. So for me, the development of the technology, the development of the staff, the development of the knowledge, the staff clinic that Jim puts out there is totally different. And it makes me well-rounded as a bowler. I'm not just out there chucking the ball now. I'm understanding what this motion is. I was wrong about the apex of this motion. Kent told me, no, you're looking at it wrong. Look at this. Oh, dummy. Now I can go out there and do what I need to do. And that's filtering down into the staff. Like Jim said, when we do it, even on the Swag fans page, Brandon, he just shot 812 Friday. He put it out there and Jim congratulated him and said, oh, great job. We even discussed in our chat, oh, maybe if he had did a little bit on the bottom of that, he could have got that A10 out, right? That's the knowledge that they may not get from their teammates or people that their pro shop guy. They like look at it, oh man, you got a bad break. And we're like, yeah, you got a bad break, but maybe if you did something here, you could have got that out, right? And so he learned from that, and he loved that, and he loved that that Jim posted about him, and that makes us different. It makes us a family. It makes us out there, and it just shows that we're not a gimmick. We're serious, but we still care about our staffers, and we care about our equipment, and we care about the company.
That's right.
And about the bowlers in general.
By
and
pins,
bowlers in general.
Yeah. And if you've been traumatized by pins because the fact for some reason they decided not to carry like the 9-pin does with Kobe all the time, you may be entitled to some extra type of compensation.
You know what? So I do have, my back row chronicles for the month, in which I know everybody laughs at them because the edits I put in the time for those edits, and
I'm right
they
there
just
with
come
you.
out hilarious. They come out hilarious to me, but that's kind of just like I just laugh about them. But at the same time, the Messenger Mondays that I send with a swag ball are 10 times better than anything I've ever had.
Nice. All right. The last part of this we'll talk about is we had our buzz. We had our, what's the expectation? The question that Kent gets. What's next?
Bigger and better things.
Oh man, that's a company answer.
I mean, come on. We're looking to do, our next set of releases first of the year. For pro shops, we'll probably run another pro shop pack that'll be available to them through their distributors, where we can, they can sign up for the pro shop package. It also puts them on the rebate program and things like that. Obviously can't go into too many details as of yet. What we're looking forward to in January, soon enough. Come on, I see that look, Kobe. But I mean, Jim knows there's some really, really cool things coming down the road, man. Because we've got, we've taken what we learned from the first 6, and we've taken what we learned from the second 6. And now it's, what do we do next? That's the big question. What's next? Well, everybody's going to find out. You got to make some little tweaks and adjustments, and I think we've worked on some things that are, we've already turned some heads in this first year, and I think we're about to turn some more.
You can't hide anymore.
Is there a possibility for demo days?
That is something that
I
we
heard
are
demo
working
days.
That is something that we've been working on.
You can't hide anymore, though. The 2025, it was kind of like, swag, but now you can't hide anymore. So now, how much pressure point is that for swag as a brand and for the engineers? They're like, all right, we got 12 with success, and you can't kind of fly under the radar anymore because now, like you said before, the other brands are kind of looking like, what is swag doing? Okay, we don't have to keep them down. How exciting and how fun is it to now when you go in their room and say, before it's like, all right, we're just trying to pull out the chair at the table and we just want to, hey, how you doing? Now you're like, we're here. What do you think? I don't really care about what you think. This is what I think. How do you go about that as you start for 2026? And when we do this show a year from now, how do you keep that kick going?
It's just, constantly working on new technology, whether it's new cores, new cover designs, whatever the case may be, is you've always got to be working on that next big thing. And even though we just released these six, by the time that these six released, we were already working on January. We were already working on 2026.
So yeah,
So
you're well versed.
If you stand on the tracks of prosperity, you're gonna get run over by the train. I mean, if we stand on the 12 balls, although we could, you're absolutely, it's one of those things where now we're getting feedback. Now we're getting data. Now we're uncovering new formulations. Now we're saying, okay, let's push back and say, okay, I like what I have, but can you give me a little bit more? And so when you start asking those questions, they're like keys that open up doors. And then the minute you start seeing those things kind of come to fruition and alive, and even the things that are going to be talked about in January, which part three, I'm sure here is going to be a fantastic one.
Yeah.
Um,
2026.
the other,
Yep.
the other thing that, and I'll say it this way, it doesn't stop the original 12.
no.
And so again,
Nope.
let's talk about a toolbox. The toolbox has many, 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 many tools in it. And the tools that are going to work for Kent may not necessarily be the tools that work for me. And obviously the tools that work for that guy down below everything works for him. But it's one of those things where, it's not going to be we're just simply going to just rest on our laurels and call it a day. We've pushed the envelope a little bit more, I think is probably a safe assumption to say.
Okay.
I mean, I think we've really pushed the envelope a touch more to say, okay, what can we do different that is going to help us to that next realm? So if you climb a mountain, you kind of take a stop and then you kind of work your way to the next stop. And now we're working our way to that next stop. We're still going forward, but you're going to see some different things that I think are going to be pleasantly surprising and shocking.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
I
with
can't
with
wait.
that, how do you, now that you have the buzz, now it gives you a little leeway to kind of push that envelope. And what I mean
No
by that
leeway.
is,
It's actually a greater expectation. So there's
okay,
no leeway
okay, okay. I was
because
thinking
Yeah.
more. I was thinking more like now that you can push that envelope with the first 12, you kind of in your thought process like gotta nail it. Like you can't come out and have a flop. You've done that portion. Now you can explode with your technology and say, let me try this, let me try that, and still have that great expectation. But now people, like you said, I guess that is true. You have greater expectations. But now how do you keep the mad scientist part from going just crazy? I guess is my question.
test more. We
Okay.
test more.
Mhm.
I think we've probably pulled in more test balls and we've tested more.
Okay.
And that includes different color combinations just to make sure that the colors are actually making sense.
Okay.
And when I say make sense is the fact that A, they appeal, and B, they actually do what they need to do on the lanes.
Okay.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I mean, R&D is significantly going through testing to ensure that we're actually still maintaining the maximum amount of, you know, uh, momentum, I think
Okay.
is probably the best word that we're carrying from 2025. Because when you start 2026, you want to start it in a manner that's going to still maintain that momentum, because we are going to be going straight into nationals. We're going straight into tournament season. We're going straight into these things. So if, and it's crazy as it sounds, and I'm thinking of a 12-foot ladder or let's say a 20-foot ladder, and we have 12 rungs. Now think about that. If you only have 12 rungs on a 20-foot ladder, you still have spots where you need to get another rung or two to get that thing to kind of make sure it blends and goes all the way through.
Okay.
I mean, you can try to climb above, miss one or two rungs on the ladder, but now if you can kind of plug something in that's going to be that next iteration, I think is a big piece and a big key, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Kent, as a staff leader, has it changed for you? Because now your intake of applications is going to be different now. The people that didn't take it serious before, now they want to be part of it. It's like, how do you?
Pretty much got
Yeah, when I
thousands of
tried to tell
applications
you,
at
you
your
didn't want to
door.
listen, but now you want to be part of the train. How does that change
Yeah,
for you?
thousands.
Um, everything's changed with the applications. We've added new questions to the applications, um, to where, I mean, one of the questions right there on the application is, how familiar are you with swag, and have you thrown any of the swag equipment since January 1, 2025 releases?
Okay.
Because the old California bowling, just about anybody could get on staff. You could come in, you weren't exclusive to the brand right from the get-go. You came in as a 90-day advisory. There was a 2-ball package deal that was offered
Right.
to see if, make sure that there was a fit there with the balls. To where now the criteria is a lot stricter, to where you don't have that option. Every tier of the staff contracts, once you sign that contract and that contract effective date hits, you're exclusive to the brand.
Okay.
So, if you're somebody that turns in an application and you say, hey, I've never thrown any stuff, but this has really intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not going to be a fit. You're probably going to get the response of, thank you for applying. I encourage you to pick up a few balls to make sure that they're a fit for your game.
Okay.
And, still, if they are, follow the company, still be a part of it, support it. And I encourage you to reapply again next year.
Okay. That's fair.
Because then that'll show me, not only will it show me who's in it to just try and be on staff, and I even had a few applications that came in saying, that they wanted to be on staff to get free equipment. And it's just not how it works.
That's like the number one answer with anybody.
Yeah.
And trust me, the equipment is not free.
And the other thing that's and I'll flat out say it, is the fact that the expectations for staff have exponentially grown 10, 20 fold for 2026.
Mhm. Yep.
Whether it's through Kent or it's through myself, the expectations are going to significantly increase, because the simple fact is we want to maintain a quality product with quality people.
Mhm.
And so, there's going to be greater expectations. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to leave you hanging. No, we're going to provide training. We're going to give you all the tools necessary to be successful, but their expectation is going to be there, and we're not going to just simply settle. And if anybody thinks that they're simply settling and just simply get free balls, we're probably not the right fit for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now you're saying, hey, look, just because we're a little brother right now doesn't mean we're going to treat ourselves as little brother. We still think of ourselves highly. We think highly of our product, and we think highly of the people that are going to represent our product. And
Right.
so when you have all three, that is what's going to keep the brand successful. That's going to keep the brand moving forward, and being in it for the right reasons if you got people that just want the free stuff, then they're not really promoting it. They're just like, okay, where's my next three? I'm going to punch them up. If I like it, great. But if I don't, you're not really invested in it.
Right.
We
It's not
want
a fit.
the people to be invested in our product, to say, hey, I really love throwing this equipment. I really love throwing this equipment. I know Kobe really loves throwing this equipment. I know Jim and Kent really love throwing the equipment. And so it shows the commitment, and like you guys doing this with us, and Kent, you doing the ball videos, and Jim, you spending hours, countless hours of doing the social media because you believe in our product and you believe in where this can go to the next level. So that's just A1 performance on how to push to the next level. And it looks like 2026 is going to be the star year, the breakout where Swag name is going to be on that pedestal, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I mean, and here, staff is family.
Mm-hmm.
It really
Mhm.
is. And even if it comes to the point where at the end of the year, some staffers get dropped off, maybe because they weren't fulfilling their portion of the contract, doesn't mean that we just ixnay them and it's like you're gone, bye-bye, thanks for coming. No,
Right.
you're still family, even after the fact. We will still encourage you to support the product and definitely reapply. But like right now, we've got, I don't even remember now what the number was I gave Jim the other day. Um, prob- 300 applications that have been turned in,
Wow.
and not
On
definitely
top
not
of
that many
new
spots.
staff.
And it's
On
only
top of
half. It's only
on
that's only half the month.
Yeah. And so now, granted, this next year's contracts, there's going to be new stipulations within the staff contracts that are going to make everything a little bit more easy to read as far as what is really expected.
Mm-hmm.
This first year with putting the contracts together, it was let's get something together, get it done. And then after the fact, then we kind of realized, oh, we kind of missed a spot here, or we needed to emphasize this a little bit more.
Okay.
So these next year's contracts are going to reflect that. And with the new staff applications that are coming in, I mean, I've already told current staff that, there's some that you just haven't lived up to the contract.
Yep.
You're not going to be here. There's others that have kind of been on that fence. I'm seeing the applications that are coming in, and I got to say that there's some really, really good applications coming in.
Okay.
And so it may be a point where some of those people that were on the fence
They're
that
gone.
were probably going to be able to stay on and be given that little extra chance. If I've got somebody that's really good applicant and I got somebody that's on the fence,
You got to take your chance with that.
Yeah.
Well, it's an opportunity, and if you want to be on staff, I'll help give you the tools to be on staff.
Right.
I will never tell anybody no, but I'll tell you this right now. If you think being on staff just simply sees you look pretty throwing a bowling ball, that's not the case. We're here to support a pro shop. We're here to support a business. We're here to support distributors. We're here to support bowling as a whole in general. And if you do not have that mindset, you're probably not the candidate we're looking for. It's not all just about being me. It's about being part of the team. And literally that is first and foremost.
I love
now
it.
one thing that we are working on new this year also is we're talking of putting together a pro shop staff.
Okay. You want to talk about that and how different that will be?
Which the fine print of it, we haven't worked out
Right.
exactly how all of it's going to be worded yet. But the nice part is I've got a lot of the pro shops that I talked to at trade shows that had guys in their shops that they would like to get on staff to represent our company in their shop.
Okay.
And I've gotten a lot of applications in from guys that own pro shops.
Okay.
So, that's a plus that we're getting that type of interest from the pro shop industry
Okay.
of, wanting either as an owner of a pro shop to represent us or having someone in their shop representing us.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a big thing because now it gives more visibility to the brand because now if you are that staffer, you're gonna wear your swag shirts and it brings those questions of when people see, oh yeah, swag, what about that? And we've all seen it in just the last couple of weeks how success breeds interest. So this one person did it, and now their guy is interested, and they see that success, and they want to be part of that. And it definitely helps when the guy that is punching the holes in the balls are saying, you know what, I throw this and it works for me, and I think it would look good in your hand because you do X, Y, Z.
Right.
To have that extra knowledge Because sometimes you do go into some pro shops and they only know what they see in the catalog, but when they actually had that feel and know exactly what that motion is and what it does, it makes a big difference.
Oh, for sure.
It makes a big difference. All right, guys. Well, that is the end of episode 2. A lot of fun doing this with it. Obviously, you guys are going to be back because we're going to have a big 2026. I can't wait to see the introduction of all this new stuff that Kent has drummed up in the last 12 months, because I know 2025 was the big curses of 2026. So definitely waiting for that. Also, Jim waiting for that. Kobe, I see you all the time, so whatever. No, just kidding.
Whatever, man.
No,
We'll have to do this again sooner than later.
But
yes, we're going to have to do it sooner than
But
later.
the one thing that we will do is because I've already had a lot of interest from a lot of the other staffers. We're actually going to start like having some of the staff like on our shows,
Yes.
just so we can obviously get like different perspectives. Because one of the biggest people that I want to like get on the show is Shanice.
Yes, I already
Oh,
talked
sure.
to her. Got it.
Reason being is because about 95% of most of our staff are guys.
Yes.
She has an entire like different perspective on, especially like, with her being a woman, how she's throwing swag, and it's a whole different perspective on, something that we might not see.
She throws the ball better than me, so
I was about to
I'm
say,
all for
I
it.
Right,
saw her
man.
throw
Look,
the
she throws the
ball,
ball better
and
than
I was like,
about
oh my
90%
God.
of the staff.
Well, now see, and
She does it better than
she
90%
came
of the
out and helped me
staff.
at one of the trade shows also.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a
But
chance to meet
so
her, and I mean, fabulous person just in general.
I met
Yeah.
I met her at NDO, and me and her sat here and did crossover doubles, and we came in second.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it was real nice to see her. But I'm telling you, she is phenomenal, and just getting that different perspective and all these different people's perspectives of just how swag has changed them would really help, just grow not only like this show, but the brand as a whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Shanice, I agree with you with that. She's a great candidate. When I saw her throw the ball, I was just amazed. I was like, oh my God. I mean,
We got Shanice, we got Matt Rowan,
yes.
we got Pat,
Mhm.
we got Patrick. We have a lot of talented people on the staff. To
Now,
the
and
point
I
where
did get feedback from the higher ups than me after episode 1 that we need to do this more.
Okay.
oh
Absolutely.
man. Oh man, I don't know if the baby will agree to that.
Speaking of, congratulations, we have a new swag member. With Kobe. So
Yep.
congratulations
Congrats,
on
Daddy.
Yep.
The one thing I do hope for your new bundle of joy, Kobe, obviously she's part of the swag family. Hope she's left-handed. That would just be
No. If she is, she'll be two-handed, and she'll be my partner for life.
Perfect.
It's okay to put a golf club in her hand, sir. It is okay to put a golf club in her hand.
That too.
I'm gonna have a golf club before her.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for doing the show. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.